This video was sponsored by Seqnzr. Baseball and softball have been trending towards a more data-driven analytical approach for all aspects of the game. Utilizing this information can give teams a leg up in competition as they begin to create game plans around players' past performance. Across the higher levels, utilizing this information has aided in lineup creation for years now, allowing coaches to decide who to bench and the best position for their hitters in a lineup. But now, there's a tool out there looking to bring that reliable information to coaches at all levels, and it's called Seqnzr. In order to understand how you can use Seqnzr, we first need to cover what it is. Seqnzr is a Monte Carlo simulation that is incredibly common across a wide range of industries, from finance to nuclear physics and even the MLB. It's a helpful tool for analysis when there's a dynamic problem with numerous variables. But to break it down even further, in our case, it's a fancy tool that uses historical data to help you estimate future performance. In baseball, and softball for that matter, that's taking a look at the main outcomes of a game that you can quantify, such as base running, fielding, and hitting. Seqnzr's goal is to help you come up with the best lineup that you can, which I'll refer to as optimizing your lineup. To do this, we'll focus on getting the best hitters, the most amount of plate appearances, and making sure that those plate appearances come up in the right situations. To better understand this concept, let's take a look at a quick example. Here is your typical hitter's stat line, and as you can see, this particular hitter will hit a double 10% of the time, strike out 20% of the time, and steal with a 66% success rate. In the background, Seqnzr will analyze those percentages in two ways. The first being our micro factors, which relies on historical data for your sport and level of play, utilizing play-by-play data from 643 charts to come up with average error rates on ground balls and fly balls, double play rates, and base running statistics. You can picture this as the historical information that helps keep your information accurate. Then we have our macro factors, which include a hitter's ground ball percentage, fly ball percentage, strikeout and walk percentages, and their average production. By taking a look at what a hitter has done over time, you can then scale that out to forecast how they will perform in the future. The larger the sample size, the more accurate this will be. Taking a look back at our stat line, there may be a number here that you're not familiar with, that being Seqnzr's speed score. This is calculated by looking at a player's runs, double plays, triples, and stolen bases to give us an idea on that player's speed. Let's take a look at the speed score in action. Imagine that we have a player on first base who's received a speed score of 4. How likely are they to advance to third if the player at the plate hits a single? Pairing our speed score with 643 charts information from 2019 and 2020 NCAA data, we can see that our runner on first would advance to third only about 24% of the time. Looking down the chart though, the faster the player, the more likely they are to make it to third base, which is a pretty obvious statement. But this is an example of how having a quantitative way of looking at situations like this allows coaches to make better informed decisions when the game is on the line. However, Seqnzr doesn't just look at historical data. Like we said before, it helps us forecast how players will do in the future. And it does that by taking situations like this and running a simulation of how the rest of that inning will play out. Then the rest of that game, and then 50,000 of those games. In doing so, this system can eliminate the what-ifs and provide you with accurate information on run expectancy, probability by hitter, base, and out combinations, and ultimately the expected run production for your lineup. So that is how Seqnzr works behind the scenes, but how does it function for you, the user? Once you've signed into the web app, you'll be presented with a screen like this. From there, you're 4 easy steps away from making the best decision for your lineup. First, you'll find the tab labeled 643 data on the navigation bar located here. Then, you can select your team and the years you'd like to include. Next, you can create several lineups that you believe would produce the best results on the field. And then you can run the simulation to see which of those lineups is projected to be the best. After those results populate, you can check the expected run productions and repeat as needed. This is an example of 2 different lineups that have already run through the simulation. The most important column is going to be your expected average runs. In our case, lineup option 2 is 6% more likely to score an extra run than lineup option 1. But it doesn't stop there. Seqnzr enables us to take our analysis a step further. We can then click on that Output tab to open up a few more charts, the first being our base runners chart. This will show us the percentage of plate appearances that hitters come up with bases empty in the leadoff spot of an inning, and the amount of times they come up with runners in scoring position. The added tab here is the average number of base runners when that hitter is at the plate. You want your best hitters to come up with more runners on base, so that when they do damage, you score more runs. The second chart below is going to be the season simulation, which looks very similar to our classic stat sheet. What this shows is what each hitter would produce over a 50-game season if they were to produce the same way that they have been historically. This helps you compare hitters who may have different sample sizes at the dish up until this point of the season. The end goal of utilizing a tool like this is to help you score more runs. Making a few lineup changes may be the key to scoring just one more run a game, and that could be the difference between winning and losing a whole lot of ball games. Now that we have a good understanding of how Seqnzr works and how you can use it to your advantage, let's take a look at some of the future capabilities of this system. The first being Simulated Run Expectancy 216, which takes the probability of scoring runs for each base situation and each out state, like RE24 does, but takes it a few steps further by calculating it for each of your hitters in your specific lineup. It answers the question of how many runs am I likely to score this inning if I have a runner on first, no outs, and my 5-hole hitter at the plate. The Seqnzr team is also working on player forecasting, which will allow the coach to analyze run expectancy based on predicted performance against an opponent's probable pitchers. Seqnzr allows you to take a data-driven approach to your offensive strategy, empowering you to score more runs and win more games.